And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. We're getting there. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share with family and friends because the chaos, you hear me say it all the time, it's not stopping. And just when you thought things couldn't get stupider, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's pulling a Trump. In fact, she's pulling a Trump on steroids. You see, knowing the crisis that Trump is in with the Epstein files, she's taking full advantage of the situation. Think about this. After her meeting with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Maxwell said that she would testify before Congress, but only, get a load of that, but she's making decisions, but only if certain conditions were met. I mean, who gets the right to do this? I certainly wasn't allowed. Not the first time I testified subpoenaed before Congress, not the seventh time that I testified before Congress. And let me just say this. I, who have been down this road before, I have insider knowledge as I've testified, as I said before Congress, 7 times. Ben Meiselas, my co-host, and I on Political Beatdown, we get into it and we really break this down for you. Play the clip.
That you mentioned the victims, and I'm with you. How terrified, though, must you be right now if you're an Epstein victim and you see how Donald Trump's DOJ and the Republicans are treating Ghislaine Maxwell? Like, you must be terrified to be able to speak and tell your story because they're treating the sex trafficker as though she's some hero in this story. You know, they rushed the DOJ to speak to Ghislaine to give her immunity, to give her use immunity to speak 10 hours for 2 days, which she can no longer be prosecuted for anything that she said at that meeting. And Cohen, what did I say was going to happen after that meeting? I said, ain't no way she's speaking to Congress after that. Because first off, let's just say she doesn't answer Congress's questions and they give her immunity. Well, Congress still has to refer the prosecution to the DOJ to prosecute her for contempt of Congress. And Trump's DOJ isn't going to prosecute her for contempt of Congress.
Well, but Ben, if they give her a pardon, if Trump pardons her, and then she gets subpoenaed to testify before Congress, she cannot at that point in time invoke her fifth because she can no longer be prosecuted for it. And so there is no Fifth Amendment right at that time. All right. Now she can claim, I don't know. Well, that's a different violation. That's a 1001 violation, lying to Congress, if you can prove that she did, which of course goes to the intent or the mens rea. That doesn't really work. I mean, there's so much here. And, you know, I read some of the comments as they're flying by, a lot of people getting involved here. Oh, Cohen knows. If I knew, do you really think that I wouldn't have said something after 7 congressional hearings? You think that the members of Congress during my 63 hours of testimony, 63, that some of these members of Congress didn't ask me questions about Jeffrey Epstein, Epstein's Island, and so on? You think they didn't ask? Really? Are you that gullible? Do you not really think that they did their homework? If I knew, it would be out there.
But Cohen, speaking of your congressional testimony, though, you cooperated with Congress, right? You testified.
I was subpoenaed and I appeared.
And you appeared. So Ghislaine Maxwell was subpoenaed to show up on August 11th or to be deposed in the Tallahassee prison on August 11th. Well, her lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, rather, who's close friends with Todd Blanche, who's the number 2 at the Department of Justice, Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney. By the way, in the case where Trump was convicted on 34 felony counts, where you were the main witness and Blanche cross-examined you. So that meeting happens Thursday and Friday between Ghislaine's lawyer and the DOJ's number 2. And now today, David Oscar Marcus, the lawyer for Ghislaine, says, you know what, Congress, we've got a list of demands for you. If you want Ghislaine to testify, you're going to listen up to our demands. You hear me? I can't make this up. Cohen, you're laughing because you know that's why it's a perfect segue. This is real. This is what they said. Number one, Congress. Number one, a grant of formal immunity to Ghislaine, but that's not enough. Number two, we're going to tell you where the interview happens. She will not sit anywhere in the facility where she's currently incarcerated. She will dictate where the meeting takes place. Number three, you will tell her what you're asking her in advance. She will not answer a single question unless you specifically tell her what the questions are going to be. She can adequately prepare, and then she will respond in a way before you show up to the questions. There will be no surprise questions to be asked to her at all. And number four, we are not going to show up on August 11th. She will not answer questions then. She will only answer questions, quote, after the resolution of her Supreme Court petition and her forthcoming habeas petition. Forthcoming means she hasn't really filed her habeas petition. So basically, she just said, I ain't doing this anytime soon. Because regardless of what the Supreme Court does, she's going to file a habeas. Let me take a big guess what she's going to say in her habeas, among other claims. The President of the United States just said that the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, who was fired, is responsible for perpetrating a hoax. Her dad, according to the President of the United States, tampered with the files and is responsible for the Epstein hoax. As a result, my client did not get a fair trial because the President of the U.S., who directs the FBI and DOJ, says it's a hoax. Your Honor, even if the president is lying or is wrong, the fact that the President of the United States has now interfered or has involved himself in this investigation, that is a new fact, and a habeas petition must be granted. Let me give people the unfortunate news. Based on those facts, a habeas petition should be granted. Do I want to see that as the outcome? Freaking hell no. Do I want to see her rot in jail? Absolutely, as a sex trafficker. If you were to apply the standards for a habeas petition and give those facts, the only way for a judge to deny her habeas petition is to say Donald Trump has zero credibility and you can't listen to the words of the President of the United States, which I agree is the truth. But a federal judge will have to make the judicial finding that any words that a president, this will be precedent. When a president says something, it is completely meaningless and utterly ignored. But Cohen, let me go back to you here because you were laughing as I read to you her conditions. You've been through a process.
I sure have, more than once. And I can tell you, no lawyer or the Department of Justice is not acknowledging what he's saying. First of all, you get immunity testifying. It's a limited immunity. You don't get unconditional immunity. Second of all, you don't get to dictate the terms. In fact, all they need to do is to subpoena her. If they really want to give her the business, if they really want to teach her a lesson, they subpoena her through the institution, through the federal correctional institution that she's currently laid up in. What they do is they put you in the box. All right. Let me tell you what the box has been. Stay with me on this one because this is a bitch, man. It's called management variable U. They put you on a bus. All right. You're not in a nice sprawling, bus that, has the bathrooms in it where, you get up, you get down, somebody serves you a nice little glass of champagne. They handcuff and shackle you. Bless you. They handcuff and they shackle you, and they take the chains, and the chains go into a big box that sits on your lap. Basically, the only movement you have is this. You can go up and down with your hands. You can't move them to the left, to the right. You are literally chained, and they put you onto a bus. Now, that bus is not destined for Washington, D.C. Congress. You are not the only one in it. It is a mass transport of inmates from all over the place. You may end up going from wherever she's at. Let's say she's in California. You're going to make that brutal trip of California to D.C. in this bus. if you don't cooperate, all right, where they'll let you every like say 8 hours, they take your hands out of the box and allow you to go to a bathroom. All right. They do feed you. You get usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? That's about all that you're eating. It's really brutal. And they don't go straight from California to DC. They stop in multiple places. They could stop in Texas to unload. They could stop in Florida to unload. Hell, they can go straight up to Maine, and then from Maine to to Idaho, and then from Idaho to DC. You have no idea. It could be a 1 month long trip and journey for you, which again is freaking brutal. So if that's the game that they want to play, fucking management variable her. I also had just a quick thought I wanted to pose to you again, Ben. All right. Join me here because I really need your help on this one as well. As a lawyer, I'm always thinking or trying to think a little bit outside the box. What if one of these victims, what if they actually sued Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation? The same way that Trump is suing people like Rupert Murdoch and others, the Wall Street Journal and so on, for defamation. What if you sued her? Again, the way like E. Jean Carroll sued Trump for defamation. She was found liable. She was convicted 20 years for her participation in this sex trafficking ring. And now she's denying it. Why not sue her for defamation? And if you did that, you would immediately have the right to the entire file.
Well, I think that's the reason why we have a lot of these documents is that a federal judge, to your point, back in 2020, unsealed hundreds of pages of deposition transcripts and other documents related to a now settled defamation suit brought against Ghislaine Maxwell,
right,
who is accused of, at that point she was accused, but now she was convicted. Maxwell's deposition transcripts from 2016 was part of it. Virginia Giuffre's deposition testimony was part of it. So we did get. That's when people wonder where these documents came from that exist. They come from civil cases that were around there. But to your point, in a civil case, one of the victims would then have to subpoena the Department of Justice for those files. But let's be clear, Congress, the House Oversight Committee, based on this maneuver made by Democrats, has subpoenaed those files. Now, the ball's in the DOJ court, and this is why Congress recessed, because MAGA Mike wanted to give Trump and Bondi their space, as MAGA Mike said, to kind of figure out what their plan is. And now they're executing their plan. The plan is the Ghislaine immunity. The plan is focus on grand jury testimony. The plan is Donald Trump goes to Scotland and disappears for a few days. Hopefully things settle down, announce a trade deal. Then maybe in the dog days of summer, people forget about it. Like, that's the plan. Their plan isn't working. And I think one of the big reasons why the plan isn't working either, and I'm not just trying to give ourselves a pat on the back here, but independent media generally, we've been laser focused on Epstein for 5 years. And now that this is becoming an issue that lots of people are focused on, we have an institutional knowledge. Like, yes, Donald Trump may have said that about Virginia Giuffre today. We've been talking about that since 2020 and everything that was going on there. Maria Farmer's sister Annie, Jane Doe, the 14-year-old victim, and others. And so, as I've said before, I would know exactly where in the files Donald Trump would appear. So if I know, I have a feeling that people in Congress know where exactly it is. And now that showdown will take place between the DOJ and Congress. And we're going to see that showdown play out August 11th, when Ghislaine, who's dictating her terms, what do you think Congress is going to do? I think Congress will show up.
Well, I don't think Congress will show up because they're off till September 2nd, right? Which to me is sort of an interesting fact, right? That, it's supposed to be now August 11, but you don't even have Congress in session.
Well, their plan was to take the depot in Tallahassee. So it was going to be a group of people from the oversight committee, whatever it is, 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and then they show up together.
I don't know. When I went before the House Oversight Committee, there was 60 people?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody has, this one is so big that every one of them will have the ability to go. Where are they going to hold this?
The initial plan was in prison.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.